Curt, looking at your 2015 club, let's start first off with the offense and what you see as some of the strength on that side of the football. And for openers, you have to be excited about the prospects of the backfield with the return of your quarterback, Drew Bauer, and running back Logan Lauders, who enjoyed a breakout year last season.
Yeah, you look at a guy like Drew Bauer and Logan Lauders, and certainly their playmaking ability is something that we're excited about. But just their veteran experience and those guys having an opportunity to lead our offense again are things that we will hang our hat on offensively and probably as a team this fall. Those guys have a lot of playing experience under their belts and a lot of gamesmanship, and they've been through the war and been through the battle, and those guys we're going to need to lead offensively and lead our football team in a capacity that's going to be a little bit different for them this fall.
You mentioned that your offensive line may be the deepest you've had in your 8 seasons here as head coach and offensive coordinator, correct?
Yes, I think our offensive line has potential this year to be really explosive and extremely talented. You look at a guy like Peter Bateman, who returns as a junior, and Pete's as talented as of an offensive lineman as we've had. Connor Randall will return as a third-year starter for us. Nolan Folkert will return. Nolan has had quite a bit of playing experience for us last year. Matt Cadden will return as a second-year starter for us at center, and then really our right tackle spot is going to be the one that is going to be up for grabs. Cameron Heen, Trevor Ward, Matt Juneau, those are guys as freshmen that will certainly battle for that position. But last year's freshman class, that group of freshmen that we redshirted last year, are going to provide a lot of depth, not only just in our offensive line, but in our team this fall.
You did graduate a pair of standout receivers in Aaron Roth and Zach Zweifel, who combined to catch something like 325 passes as 4-year starters. Who do you see stepping up there and becoming Drew Bauer's prime targets?
Yeah, I don't know if you ever replace a guy like Aaron Roth and a guy like Zach Zweifel. We're fortunate this year Zach's going to actually help out with our wide receivers coaching, so that'll be a bonus for us. But hopefully, a guy like Justin Fulks, you look back at his career thus far, games that we've had Justin Fulks in our lineup, we've been extremely explosive offensively. He gives us something a little bit different. Nate Ritchie's a guy that needs to play for us and be a bigger threat for us on the perimeter. And Bo Bofferdine had a breakout season for us last year as a sophomore. Bo's role will continue to expand. He's a guy that doesn't come off the field for us offensively in our special teams as well. And Bo's a guy that we're going to play in the backfield a little bit this year as well.
Switching over to defense, what areas give you the least worry, and what areas give you the most concern at this point?
Yeah, I don't know if we're necessarily worried at any position. I think our secondary, we have an opportunity to have a deep secondary this year. We have a few guys that we've added into our secondary. Look at a guy like Ty Fisher. Ty's back from a couple of years ago. He'll be back at the corner position for us, and Darian Fletcher will return as a 4-year player and 4-year starter for us at the corner position. Dylan Martinez is a guy at corner that played quite a bit for us last year, didn't redshirt, and we're going to expect his role to expand and his leadership and his playing experience to hopefully take off. Dave Bolgo returns in our secondary, and I believe he was our leading tackler on defense last year. So, I think our secondary has an opportunity to be relatively deep for us this year, and those are key guys because we're going to need those guys to make plays for us in the kicking game as well.
How about linebacker?
Linebacker, we returned 2 captains at our linebacker spot, Brent Stiglich and Bo Bates. Both those guys have a lot of playing experience. Both those guys have been tremendous leaders this offseason and have been voted captain for a reason. On the outside, Zach Ziener, Zach played quite a bit for us last year as a freshman. Will expand his role, and then Mark Nahorniak this year as a senior needs to. Again, you talk about expanding a role. Mark's been a special teams guy and a big playmaker for us in the kicking game throughout his career and played quite a bit of defense for us last year. Mark needs to step up this year and start for us and be a threat for us off the edge.
And then on the defensive front, it pretty much all starts with Jonathan Harden.
Yeah, Jonathan Harden is, we look at Peter Bateman on the offensive side and a guy that's talented and as good as anybody in Division II. I think Jonathan Harden is, equivalent, if not better than that on the defensive side. And John's a senior captain for us. Jonathan's a quiet leader. He does it on the field. He does it between the lines. He's extremely explosive. He'll push his teammates. And you look at our defensive line. I think he's mentored a guy like Ike Vessel, who needs to, play quite a bit more for us this year than he did last year. He played 15 to 20 snaps. He's going to expand that this year. Nick Thorpe's a guy that got thrown into a starting position last year due to an injury, and did a really good job on the defensive line. So Nick had a great offseason. Those are guys that need to step up and become big-time playmakers for us on our defensive front.
Less than 3 weeks, you open up with one of your arch rivals, Minnesota State Mankato, in a game that'll feature the number 1 and 2 ranked teams in the country. Being that even one loss can keep a team from making the NCAA postseason, we saw it last year with Sioux Falls. This has to seem kind of like a playoff game for your club in a way, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think every game does, but there's certainly you look at just our history with Minnesota State and Duluth, and you've had two programs that have had an opportunity to be in the playoffs quite frequently here over the last 7 years, and had some heated games and some big games, and you know, unfortunately they've gotten us the last 2 times we've played them. So it'll be a big game for us, but I don't think it is any different than opening up against anybody else in the conference. We have a competitive NSIC. When we don't have an opportunity at a non-conference game, they're all big, and you know, to be on national TV on Thursday night against a team that went to the national championship last year, you know, we're going to have our work cut out for us on Thursday night.
Besides the Bulldogs of Minnesota State and, of course, Sioux Falls, those are the top 3 teams in the coaches' poll. Who else do you see challenging for the NSIC title this fall?
Well, it's interesting. You know, every year there's different teams that continue to improve and challenge. And I look at just where this league has come in the last 8 years. I'm going on my 8th season in the NSIC, and you know, the disparity between number 16 and number 1 continues to close. And every game's going to be, you know, a little bit different challenge for us, and you know, we as we know, playing in Minnesota, weather conditions are going to play a factor into all that as well. So we'll see. You know, it's a tough conference, and again, we're worried about week number 1 at this point.
Curt, in 2008, Bulldog football experienced a head coaching change, a switch back to NSIC and your rival at UMD, and since that time, no NCAA 2 program in the country has enjoyed more success in terms of winning football games than UMD. What do you attribute this to, particularly UMD's remarkable run of consistency in which it has never lost more than 2 regular season games? I mean, why has it been, what do you see the reason for that kind of consistency and that kind of success?
Well, you're putting the pressure on us right away now, too. But, you know, you look at where we've come over the last 8 years. For us, for me, for our staff that's been here, it's attributed really to the captains of this football team, and definitely the guys that have come before us, but certainly the captains in 2008. Those guys made a decision to run our football program and to have the chemistry in our locker room that we do today. And those guys came to us as captains. This is the way they wanted to go about things. This is the way that we needed to handle things on and off the field. These were our out of season and off season expectations. And since then, we're fortunate that we continue to bring quality young men into our football program that respect the guys that have come before us, understand that this is the way we go about our business, and you know, it is carried over in the win column, fortunately for us, you know, throughout the last 7 years.
I don't know if you've been giving this much thought, but it's been 20 years since you began your collegiate playing career at Minnesota State. And looking back, how has college football evolved over those 2 decades, both as you were looking at it as a player and as a coach now?
Yeah, I think just the mental aspect of football continues to evolve. If you look at just what everybody's doing in the kicking game and offensively and defensively, you're challenged as a coach to continue to stay up on the game and continue to study the game and get better as a staff. And we're very fortunate at UMD. You know, we've been able to retain our football staff. We have a quality group that doesn't necessarily just teach X's and O's. They teach our guys how to be good people on and off the field, and I think the game mentally continues to evolve and get better each season.
Okay, thanks, Coach.